Michelle's betrayal is considered to be among some of the biggest betrayals in GTA history.
You see, Niko, I have been working for the government.
This is a joke, right?
But what's particularly interesting about her betrayal is that it wasn't really obvious at all, or at least until you played the game a second time. Michelle being an undercover cop was shocking for most people, since we already got screwed over and betrayed by Dimitri earlier in the story. So in today's video we're going to go through all the signs that Michelle was an undercover cop and why her betrayal was so unexpected. A very clean apartment. So the first early sign that Michelle was going to betray Niko is in the mission first date. Niko is waiting outside of Michelle's apartment for them to go on their first date. But while he waits for Michelle to get ready, she opens the door and lets Niko in. And this is where Niko noticed something strange. He noticed that everything in her apartment is new, thinking she just moved in. Niko does actually confront Michelle about her apartment being so clean, in which she responds,
Did you just move in?
No? Why?
All your stuff is new. Some even still have tags on.
Yeah, well, I like things clean.
So this sign doesn't really expose her for being an undercover cop, but it's an early sign that Michelle wasn't as truthful to Niko as we want to believe. Also a small detail about this cutscene. Notice how Michelle is taking a tag off one of the couches. This suggests that she screwed up and tried to come up with the excuse that she got OCD and just hates when things are dirty.
Yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with cleanliness. Things get on my nerves and I just throw them out. OCD or something?
She knew everything about crime. When taking Michelle on dates, she will constantly comment on crime. For example, if you take her to Mikael Faustin's club, she will say,
Weird crowd in that place. Packed with criminals. You seem to like going to Perestroika. Why is that?
It's just the first place I went to.
Even the Irish bar in Dukes doesn't escape her suspicion.
Interesting place. Seems like the kind of place Irish mobsters would like to hang out, don't you think?
I haven't really thought about it.
Why does Michelle keep referencing crime? Why is she constantly pointing out gangsters at different venues? Why is she so curious about Niko's involvement with them? This behavior stands out. It's not normal for a date to repeatedly bring up criminals or suggest that the people around them might be mobsters. It's almost like she's fishing for information, and that's not something you'd expect from a regular romantic interest. Michelle gets Niko drunk on purpose. If you go drinking with Michelle in the Comrades bar or the Irish bar in Dukes, there is a conversation where Niko accuses Michelle of spiking his drink.
Why do you always go and get the drinks? If I did not know any better, I would think you were trying to put something in my glass.
Niko migrated from Yugoslavia to Liberty City, would for sure know the difference between being high and drunk, or would he? Also, another interesting sign is that Michelle is the only character who doesn't get drunk with Niko on hangouts. When hanging out with Roman or Little Jacob, they will pretty much always be drunk with him, but Michelle never seems to be drunk, despite she being the one getting the drinks. So by getting Niko drunk, Michelle probably hoped that Niko would open up to her and tell her things that definitely shouldn't be told, none of the least to an undercover cop. And in that way she would be able to get enough evidence to set Niko behind bars. Michelle knew what Niko was up to. Another clear sign that Michelle isn't who she says she is comes from the fact that she seems to know exactly what Niko is doing, almost like she's keeping tabs on him. There are several moments throughout the game, both during dates and in the main story, where Michelle or Karen shows knowledge she shouldn't have. It starts as early as the first mission, first date. As you're driving to pick up Michelle, Roman calls and says that Albanian loan sharks are coming after him.
Niko, Leader has me cornered in the court, under the L train on Firefly.
What does he want?
Oh, I can't think what he could possibly want, or why he'd be pissed off, can you?
Which leaves you with a choice. You can either help Roman or go on the date as planned. If you choose to help Roman, Niko will eventually tell Michelle that he had to take care of something.
So, Niko, why couldn't you come on the date earlier? What happened?
Roman got himself into some trouble. I had to help him out.
Really? Does Roman get himself into a lot of trouble? Is he involved in criminal stuff?
Roman? He's made some mistakes. Got involved with people he shouldn't have, but really he is a legitimate businessman.
But even before that, as you're driving Roman back, Michelle sends Niko a message. Niko, where did you go? I couldn't find you. Did something important come up? Are you involved with some bad people? Now, that's a huge red flag. Michelle just met Niko. There is no way she'd already be suspicious of him, unless she had prior knowledge or someone was watching him. How else would she know that Niko beat up the Albanian loan sharks, or that he killed Bledar? But wait, there is more. It happens again on another date. Michelle randomly brings up Roman's gambling addiction.
How's Roman?
Okay,
He likes to gamble, though, doesn't he?
I don't know about that.
Mallory said he was in debt to some criminals. Do you know about that?
No,
That would really scare me. Organized crime, I mean.
me too.
This sounds casual, but it's calculated. She's fishing for information. She claims Mallory told her, but it's suspicious how she always has perfect timing with these questions, right when Niko is getting involved with shady people. Then she starts asking questions about Vlad.
What do you know about that guy, Vlad?
Nothing. He's a friend of Roman's.
Really?
I met him. He seemed angry. How you say, aggressive to hide inadequacy? I never see him again. Why?
Mallory mentioned him, that's all.
And once again she blames this on Mallory. But at this point it's obvious Michelle is doing more than just chatting. She's profiling Niko and the people around him. But the most suspicious moment comes right before she reveals who she really is. She calls Niko and says,
Hey, Niko. Mallory tells me you are working with Elizabetta Torres now.
Do you two know each other? Elizabetta seems to have a lot of friends.
That's because she's a dealer, Niko. Junkies like the people who supply them with drugs. You aren't getting involved in that world, are you?
I'm trying to avoid it, Michelle. Maybe I do a few errands for Elizabetta. Nothing serious, though. I am no dealer.
If you need help with anything, Niko, just speak to me. If you want to get something off your chest, I'm a good listener, you know?
it's clear she already knew who Elisabetta was. She didn't need Mallory to tell her anything. Michelle was keeping close track of everything Niko did, even the jobs he took. She pretends to be concerned, offering to help and listen, but it's all part of her cover. She's watching Niko, questioning him and gathering intel. Always using Mallory as an excuse. Have you noticed that almost every time Michelle brings up something personal about Niko, Roman, or even people like Vlad or Elisabetta, she always says Mallory told me. This seems like a convenient excuse. If Niko were to ask how she knows all this, she would just say, oh, Mallory told me, and Niko wouldn't question it since Mallory and Michelle are supposed to be friends. But here's the thing, it's clearly a lie. Would Mallory really tell Michelle that Roman is in debt to the Russian mafia? Or that Elisabetta is a drug dealer and Niko is helping her with drug runs? That doesn't sound like something Mallory would be gossiping about, especially considering how paranoid Elisabetta is. Michelle acts like she knows everything, but keeps blaming Mallory as the source. Now here's the proof she's lying. In one conversation when Niko asks Michelle what she does for work, she says,
Well, what do you do?
What do you do?
Come on, I asked first.
I work with Mallory. What do you do? Exactly.
but that's a big lie because later in the game she tells Niko that she hasn't spoken to her in a while.
How's Mallory? We haven't spoken in a while.
So which is it? You do work with her but also barely talk to her. That makes no sense. And to top it off, we get a call from Mallory later in the game where she says that Roman doesn't tell her anything.
I think Roman has been kidnapped. I heard he owes some Russians money. A friend of mine saw him at that card club on Helm Point.
He owed them money?
He never tells me anything.
So if Mallory herself says that Roman doesn't tell her anything, how would she be giving all this information to Michelle? The truth is, she's not. Michelle uses Mallory as a cover to hide how much she already knows because she's spying on Niko. Michelle asks Niko too much questions, and the last but probably most important hidden sign that Michelle was going to betray Niko was that she was asking too many questions. When you take her on a date, all she does is ask questions non-stop, and it's not small talk or normal first date stuff. She constantly brings up crime, Niko's past, Roman's business, and tries to get Niko to open up about his illegal activities. She never shares anything about herself, and when Niko asks about her job or background, she dodges it or changes the subject. She flips the question back to him. It's always about Niko's life, his family and his problems, and it gets even worse when he's drunk. Every time you leave a bar with her, Niko says things like,
What was up with all those questions, Michelle? Are you drunk? I am really very drunk. I do not like those questions. I don't want to think about it.
This means she's grilling him while he's drunk, hoping he slips up and says something he normally wouldn't, and it's clear she's doing it on purpose. But the craziest moment happens in their final conversation with Niko before she runs out of dialogue. She straight up asks him,
Listen, it's a bit of a strange question, but do you know where I can get some
what?
drugs?
No, I didn't know you liked to party.
No, it's for my cousin.
Sure, that's what everyone says.
come on, that's basically her testing Niko, seeing if he'll help her get drugs. That's something undercover cops do in real life. She tried to get Niko to commit a crime so she could arrest or blackmail him. At this point, it's not even a surprise anymore. Michelle pretends it's for her cousin, but it's obvious she's trying to see if Niko will get involved in drug dealing. And that connects directly to the snowstorm mission, where she finally reveals herself. But why then? Because Niko was caught with a huge amount of drugs, which was the proof she needed, and instead of arresting him, she blackmails him into working for the United Liberty paper. So yeah, while Michelle's betrayal wasn't that obvious in the story, her intentions became clear through hangout conversation and her ability to identify crime everywhere. It became obvious that she wasn't just there for Niko's personality and charming charisma.
There's luxury condo. Where's sports car? Where's Barbara with big titties and Stephanie who sucks like a vacuum?
What are you talking about?